Hey everyone, and welcome back to See You Next Thursday. I'm Willow of Pixie Retreat.
And I'm Tree.
And we thought that we would revisit a topic that we've talked about before, basically because we're so deeply steeped right now in the Medical Medium's 369 liver cleansing. And so we are going to talk about the top tier, the major number one group of food offenders, of troublemaker foods.
So these are the worst of the worst when you consider if you're on some kind of healing journey, whether that's physical, mental, emotional. Foods to consider removing, eliminating, editing, removing from your day-to-day to allow for more pronounced healing.
These are the foods that have been wreaking havoc on our bodies for generations. And they're causing everything from like brain fog to weight gain to chronic fatigue to autoimmune flare-ups and like hormonal chaos. They really are causing a lot of problems within our systems.
So, if you're on a healing journey or you're just looking to feel more vibrant and connected to your body, this conversation's for you.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can find some little gems in there to adopt. And we always say to do your own research. We're not doctors. We're just really passionate about this information, and we believe it to be true for ourselves.
Right.
I know eggs are such a prominent part of people's diets, and they're in everything, breakfast to baked goods to even like dinner meals.
I mean, we all grew up with eggs, and they're like, it's easy. It's an easy thing to make. It's not like you have to have some recipe to whip up some eggs. It's easy, you know what I mean? Little kids can make them.
Well, why are they so expensive these days is another topic.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
And same with the bird flu, another topic.
A whole other topic.
Altogether. But, let's start with one of basically the sneakiest culprits.
It's eggs. It's eggs. It's eggs. I know this shocks a lot of people because they've been marketed as a superfood for generations. But the medical medium is revealing a very different story about eggs.
Worth listening to.
Yeah.
They used to be a health food. We're talking like 100 years ago, before the explosion of industrial farming. But now they're a primary fuel source for viruses like Epstein-Barr, shingles, HHV6. These are the very bugs behind autoimmune symptoms, which the medical medium calls mystery illnesses. And there's so many these days.
It's really true. Plus, eggs, they directly correlate to insulin resistance. And when the body is dealing with chronic inflammation, which is often triggered by viral activity, the fats in the eggs burden the liver and make it harder for glucose to enter into our cells.
And this leads to blood sugar roller coasters. Basically, weight gain, cravings, the liver becomes sluggish, which most of us are experiencing a sluggish liver.
It's really true.
Overloaded, and your body starts to lose its ability to metabolize even the healthiest foods properly. That's why we speak so highly of the hydrating foods, because it helps to move the nutrients through better. When you have the troublemakers in there, it creates almost, I would imagine, like blockages. It slows things down.
Sluggish.
It slows down the healing. Symptoms, whatever you're experiencing, arise, and we're looking for root cause, ease, and relief of symptoms. And this is why the hydrating foods are so important. And the troublemaker foods are troublemakers.
It's really true. And energetically, eggs carry the imprint of reproduction. I mean, think about that. It's like, it's an egg. It's an egg that's going to turn into another creature, another being.
Which is creepy.
It's kind of, yeah,
in my mind. I mean, I'm somebody that
You've
gave
been a
up eggs
vegetarian for a long time.
And I stopped using eggs as a very young person, so no shade to people that love their eggs. I know there's a high level of attachment, and it's such a prominent part of people's diets, and we're just sharing a different perspective.
It's true. I mean, they're literally, like I was saying, the hormonal blueprint for another being, which is, that's a dense foreign frequency for our bodies to process. Think about that. It's a dense foreign frequency for our bodies to process. We're literally, I mean, really anytime we're eating another creature, but this is like, this is the beginning process. This is the beginning. It's like how we came from an egg too. Each one of us did. So crazy, so amazing.
I don't want to eat that. That's so gross.
Well, I mean, but think about it. It's like everybody grew up with eggs, even you did. You
did.
loved baked goods. And really they're in everything.
That's how I learned to cook.
It's right, and it's like we have this emotional connection to them. I mean, even a little kid can do something with eggs. You know
I don't
what I
know
mean?
why I had this early awareness around eggs. No one taught me that. I just had a deterrent factor as a young person, and I started seeking alternatives, and it's been evolution of getting to a place of really understanding. I didn't have the understanding that I have now of what eggs are and what they do. I just wasn't into them as a very young person. So we all have our own paths and our own journeys, but the next step on the Troublemaker Foods is...
Wait, can I just say one more thing about eggs that's
Sure.
just kind of interesting? It's that the egg is, the major combination in the egg is fat and sugar. And the reason for the egg containing the fat and the sugar is that this is what the combination is that creates the little chick that's being formed inside of the egg. This is what the sugar aspect in the egg is what creates the muscle so that the little chick can break out of the egg. So it's really interesting because that they've been touted as this superfood and this health food when really what they are is the combination that creates the major illnesses, fat and sugar.
Did you
that
talk
combination.
about how the eggs like proliferate virus?
It's so funny because that was one of our words last time that we were like totally struggled with
Proliferate.
proliferate, and I did that too, like proliferate. It's so funny, but yeah,
They help to feed virus.
They do. They
in
completely
summation.
feed virus. They feed the viruses. They're not feeding us. They're actually feeding the viruses within our bodies. Things like EBV, Epstein-Barr virus. I think you were saying
Shingles.
before, shingles, herpes, strep, staph. It's like, and these are takedown viruses. These are stealth viruses.
So the next step on the Troublemaker Foods is dairy. And this is a big one. And cheese pretty much has its own category. And once we started to understand what cheese actually was, even though I used to love cheese, now thank God there's so many beautiful vegan cheese alternatives, and you can even make raw nut cheeses and things like that. So it offers that satisfaction that I was seeking. But now that I understand what cheese is, which is pus, and would you say acceptable amounts of blood?
The FDA all dairy contains acceptable amounts of blood and pus. I'm sorry, that's just, to me, there is no acceptable amount of either of those items in any food.
And we know cheese is delicious, but when
Totally.
I think about it from that perspective, it just doesn't sound good at all.
Well,
But cheese could have its own warning label, and that should be on it.
yeah.
You know? The medical medium says in the liver rescue book that cheese should have its own category because of how toxic it is to the liver.
Yeah, it's really, really true. It's like, it literally slows everything down. It's like cheese, all of the food that's in our intestines, the cheese creates it makes our blood so thick that the other nutrients that are sitting in the intestines waiting to get into the bloodstream to be distributed out to other parts of our body for nutrients so we can actually live. What the cheese does is it slows down the blood and makes it so thick that eventually most of those nutrients just oxidize and become null and void.
Well, if you think about cheese just from what it looks like and how dense it is, and you're cutting into cheese and it's thick, and then you can just picture it how it moves through your system. So why would it be any different? It's a thickening agent.
It clogs up our lymphatic system, which is our drainage system. And so it's one of the major reasons that we should really, it's like dairy, whenever anybody asks me like what, if they had to choose between meat and dairy, what to give up, I always say dairy. It's just so much easier to eat so much dairy and not even realize how much we're getting
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Breakfast,
dairy,
lunch, and dinner, all the way through. It's
coffee,
just really coffee, cereal,
sandwiches,
every
dinner dish, dairy.
It's just so easy. It's so easy. And, energetically, dairy leaves this energetic biochemical imprint on us. And what that means is that this biochemical imprint, it's like it interferes with our ability to access clarity, intuition, and our emotional balance. It's like it's imprinting onto us like blockage, like complete blockage. And not only that, it also is imprinting into us the suffering of the animals, because there's so much involved in the agro business around dairy farms.
It's the energetic signature.
It is.
And I just lost my train of thought, but even just thinking about that, having had experience with taking in lots of hydrating foods, speaking of the brain and stuff like that, it helps. I mean, this is something that's not talked about enough, but like as you eat more hydrating foods, healing foods, it really starts to lighten and brighten the brain, and offer more clarity. And that's something that you have to experience on your own as you navigate it, because we could talk about it and we can tell you, but until you have that experience yourself, it's hard to express how that feels.
Yeah, it's
especially for someone that's dealing with a lot of brain fog.
Yeah, dairy creates like a residue of stagnation. It's just what it does. And that's what this like energetic biochemical imprint is. It's like a stagnation of our energy based on the energy from the animals that it's coming from and based on their suffering. I know for a lot of people that's just really out there, but it's really something to consider, because if you go to, when we would drive from San Francisco to Los Angeles, there's dairy farms all along the way. And I would always say to Teresa, oh my God, it's like the animal kingdom of Auschwitz. It's like where it is horrible. I mean, first off, the smell that you come upon is just horrible. And then you can see how the babies have been separated from the moms so that we then, as humans, can take their food source and use it ourselves. I mean, there's just something about that. I don't mean to get all crazy into animal rights, because I have to say, when we stepped into our veganism, it was through raw food. It wasn't through, it's like we became vegans kind of accidentally.
By proxy.
Kind of by proxy, exactly. And so neither one of us had been like, we weren't, it wasn't all about the animal kingdom, how we came to it.
Even though we love our animals.
We do love our animals, but as we got further and further into it,
it was like about vanity.
Yeah, I hate to say it. It was. But as we got, it's like oftentimes the first door you walk through is not the last door you walk through. So that first one that brought us to our path of raw food was about like anti-aging and vitality. It wasn't about animal rights. And the more we've gotten into this, the more these come to the fore, and you begin to see and feel and have this greater respect for the animal kingdom and what they're dealing with in this whole food business.
I mean, milk, cheese, and yogurt, they're often praised for calcium and gut support, but the reality is far more complex and damaging. And because in the liver rescue, like I said, the medical medium says that cheese deserves its own category.
Yeah.
Because of how deeply it scars the liver. And that might not sound like a big deal, but as we get older and we move on, we want to take care of our physical being so that we are vital, and we have our mobility, and we have our balance, and we have our cognizance, and we can function in a way that's self-sustaining.
Yeah.
So that we don't rely on the system that oftentimes doesn't give us the care that we need anyway.
Well, it doesn't really give a damn. It just doesn't.
But so dairy is loaded with hormones and naturally occurring mucus-forming compounds that clog our lymphatic system and feed pathogens, viruses, unproductive bacteria, toxic heavy metals, all the things that we don't want in our system that we all carry and that we're all trying to rid ourselves of.
And by removing these or beginning to really limit these, we are beginning to starve off these viruses and pathogens and bad bacterias that are the takedowns. These are the takedowns. So by removing, we begin to starve these nasty little critters. Yeah.
And so energetically, dairy leaves behind what's called a biochemical imprint.
Yeah, we've already talked about that.
Yeah, I was just saying it again, so I was taking it in on a different level because I'm still learning, and we learn every day from this information, and so it gets into my brain, but sometimes it's hard to express back what I know intrinsically, and to try to help somebody else on their journey.
Well, and dairy is especially bad for women. It's especially bad for us.
I mean, it's linked to hormonal acne.
Yes.
Ovarian cyst, endometriosis, reproductive imbalances. Because when the liver is sluggish from dairy or meat, but we're talking about dairy, it can't break down excess estrogen or toxins, and basically everything backs up.
Yeah. It's really true. I mean, I could talk about this for a long time, but we're going to move on to gluten, which is considered the silent saboteur. And it's really a tricky one because it's so common. I mean, literally, bread, pasta, baked goods, and it's just really incredibly destructive because it weakens our intestinal lining, it increases permeability, and it makes it easier for the pathogens and toxins to seep into our bloodstream. That's really what the permeability is about. It's able to break through that barrier and get directly into our bloodstream.
I guess that's the root of what we call leaky gut.
Yeah.
Leaky gut syndrome. But what's interesting is that people often say, I can't eat, or I can eat pasta in Italy. I mean, we said that.
We did. I mean, we ate pasta, we ate bread. We just did.
But when I eat it in the U.S., it makes me feel sick.
Yeah, I mean.
And we can speak to that because, as we've said before, there's 10,000 acceptable,
pesticides, herbicides, fungicides that are used here in the U.S., but only 400 that are used in Europe. It's
that's a big deal.
So that's huge. That's okay, my math isn't the greatest, but I believe that's 9,600 that we use here in the States. That's the difference. We use 9,600 more in the States than they do in Europe.
So 500
that's kind of mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing.
More.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And that's acceptable?
And you have
How
to
is
wonder
that acceptable?
why.
Exactly. Why is that? These are just little questions to ask yourself. These are the questions that we're asking ourselves.
This is profits over people.
It is, absolutely.
Which is a sad thing.
It is really a sad thing. Yeah, and it's basically that wheat has been hybridized here in the States, and it's heavily sprayed with glyphosate, which is essentially Roundup, which I don't know if you know this, but it's something to know. There is so many lawsuits right now around the United States about glyphosate and all the different cancers that it's causing. It's out of control. It's really, really out of control.
Cancer's on the rise.
It is on the rise. So glyphosate is a toxic herbicide that isn't allowed in other countries. Why in the hell is it allowed here? I need to know. And it's not just gluten, it's the chemical cocktail attached to it. So that's what the glyphosate does. It creates this chemical cocktail that we're now eating and eating on the regular basis.
It's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope.
So we end up with an immune system that's constantly in attack mode.
Yeah.
And doctors will say, your body's attacking itself. The medical medium will say, your body is not attacking itself. It's working to heal. Your body loves you and it supports you, and we just have to feed our bodies with healing, healthy, hydrating foods, and really pay attention to the troublemaker foods that are creating that attack mode.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
What's being attacked within the body is viruses, pathogens, and bad bacteria. The body isn't attacking itself. It's attacking these foreigners within our systems. These foreign substances, these foreign viruses, bacterias, bad bacterias, I need to say, because there's also good bacterias and pathogens.
So bloating, brain fog, anxiety, autoimmune flare-ups, it's all tied to the havoc that gluten wreaks on the gut and nervous system.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I loved bread, and now we're consistently looking for better ways to make bread where we're not using wheat. We pretty much use millet and oat. Those are our main,
Yeah,
those are the main.
so another interesting one that is really bad is soft drinks.
Yeah, they're considered the chemical circus. And, some people call them sodas, some call them pop, some call them soft drinks. These are basically flavor bombs. They're loaded with artificial colors, phosphoric acid, synthetic caffeines, and chemical flavorings. And chemical flavorings, it's like when you see natural flavorings, these are all chemicals. It's like literally soft drinks are a man-made situation. There's nothing coming from nature in them. Whereas you can say, gluten is coming from wheat. That's something that's in nature. That's a plant. The soft drinks, they're not. They're an entirely man-made situation.
Well, the medical medium calls them a man-made poison, and that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
And I know they're good. It's really the carbonation. So, if you need the carbonation, just drink some sparkling water from
Get Gerolsteiner. It's a super yummy mineral water. There's really good.
Put some flavoring
there's
in there,
some really
some fresh
good mineral
fruit.
waters out there.
But these ingredients literally strip your adrenals, weaken your liver, and destroy mineral balance in your body.
Yeah.
The soft drinks.
And it's not just regular
Call them
soda.
hard drinks.
Hard drinks?
Yeah.
Well, that's what the alcohol drinks are called hard drinks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But these are just poison drinks. That they're just straight up poison. And it's not just the regular soda, it's the diet versions. And oftentimes, I would say most times, the diet versions are even worse than the regular sodas that are just loaded with sugar, because these ones have artificial sweeteners in them, and these artificial sweeteners confuse the brain and gut and trigger insulin responses and disrupt hormones. They're
Plus-
just not good. They just and they're always it's like they don't make you lose weight.
No.
They just don't.
Plus, these soft drinks are acidic. They rob your bones of calcium, make your blood more toxic, and they accelerate aging.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And these are not the commercials you see on TV.
No.
So not something we want in our system, especially when we're trying to cleanse, heal, and thrive.
It's really true. I mean, I remember back in the day, chugging things like Diet Dr. Pepper.
It was good.
And they literally, it's like they're dehydrators. It's like they're doing nothing. Here we are drinking this thing looking to quench thirst.
Or drinking ginger ale when I feel nauseous.
Sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we're drinking these to quench thirst, but what they're really doing is dehydrating us to this point, and most of us are walking around in tremendous states of dehydration. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is salt. And honestly, a little mindfulness in this area goes a long way. Salt it's one of these nuanced little areas, and the medical medium is not saying that salt is evil. What he's saying is that we need to be mindful of how much salt we're consuming and what kind of salt we're consuming.
Because it's in everything.
It's in everything. And when we're eating,
Especially when you go out, especially when you buy prepackaged foods from the grocery store,
Yeah.
guaranteed salt, and it's not good salt.
no, I mean, they're not using Himalayan sea salt or a Celtic sea salt or,
Maybe every once in a while.
a sun-dried. I mean, some things you'll read and they'll say, some better products will say, there's a version of crackers out there that I was loving and buying for a while, especially when we first got here and we were just kind of having trouble finding all of the resources that we had an easy time finding in another place. So I was eating these crackers and it was saying sea salt, but they're using so much. It's one of the ways that we preserve things. And so
And it gives flavor.
it really does.
And it makes you crave it.
It really, really,
you strip
really
the
does.
salt and you're not going to want to buy that product again.
Yeah.
So we have to take charge of the salt that we're consuming in our own household, and then make sure that we make our own food more often.
You know, the salts create like a thickness and a stagnation in our blood, and they're dehydrating. That's another. This is another area. It's why we can't get shipwrecked in the ocean and start drinking salt water and think we're going to survive. We're not. It's a major, major dehydrator. So we just have to really consider. It's why when we're doing the cleanse that we pull salt out entirely. I mean, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 recipes. I think
Very
there's
nominal.
Yeah, a vinaigrette where you can use a fake vinaigrette because we use no vinegars. We're making up a little vinaigrette with no vinegar that has like about 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt in it.
So refined salt, table salt, even Himalayan and sea salts in excess, they create thick, stagnant blood.
Yep.
And when you're trying to cleanse or fast, salts they pull you out of that detox pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So if you're cleansing, detoxing, really key to minimize your sea salt.
Really?
Or salt altogether.
Like none, just really in that detoxing time frame. And it dries out our lymphatic system, and it stresses our adrenals, and it burdens our kidneys. So again, like Teresa was saying, when you're cleansing or fasting, this is a non-negotiable.
So there you have it.
So there you have it. That is what we're talking about. Those are
Number
the 5
one.
groups. So we've got
That's
eggs.
the number 1, the 5 categories
Yeah,
in the number
this
1.
is the top tier of troublemakers. So we've got eggs, we've got dairy, cheese being in its own little category, then we've got gluten, we've got soft drinks, and then we've got salt. These are the 5 to majorly consider and to really, really, really try to edit or tremendously minimize when
because
you're
they
eating.
create hidden chaos in the body, block our healing, and they keep us stuck in cycles of chronic symptoms, which we don't want.
And there's things like celery juice that really celery juice is like a cure-all tonic. And part of the thing that's really cool about it is it's got these cell salts, cluster salts in there that are actually the salts that are they're bioidentical to our body, and they allow for healing. And these are the salts that we need because they have minerals.
The good news is that you don't have to be perfect overnight.
No.
It's a practice.
Totally.
Just start becoming more aware. Do your own research.
Do your own research.
And start swapping in healing, hydrating foods like fresh fruit, leafy greens, steamed potatoes, celery juice. Your body wants to heal. It just needs that extra little support.
Yeah, I mean, this is our avatar. We have this consciousness within us so that we can keep this vessel that moves us through life healthy, because we only get this. This is what we get. And we're just an accumulation of every single thing we do, the content we take in, the food we take in. We are an accumulation of all of that. And the more conscious we become about the things that we choose to feed ourselves with, the healthier and the more vital we're going to be.
So thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and do a deep dive.
Yeah.
And eat those hydrating, healing foods.
And consider joining us on a 369 cleanse. We do them monthly. They start at the beginning of the month. We spend a few days at the end of each month preparing everybody, giving you all the information that, like this, to prepare you for what we're going to be doing and what you can
set you
expect.
up for success.
We totally want to set you up.
It's a guided virtual community, and it's been really powerful, very pleasurable.
Yeah.
And people are having amazing results.
They really are. I mean, just doing it one time is like people feel better. They have relief of symptoms. They see their skin glowing. Everybody loses weight. And it's just a powerful little community to be a part of while you're moving through a detoxification
because
process.
It's really about paying attention to the troublemaker foods and kicking them out.
Yeah.
And that's what happens during this 369.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here, and we hope you have a really beautiful day.
And we will see you next Thursday.
See you next Thursday.
Peace out,
Get
peeps.
you some.